A special cell New Delhi received source information that accused Samir, along with his associate, namely Mono, has collected huge consignment of FICN from another associate, Kalu Mama, on
So
20,
therefore,
23rd
your date of
February.
knowledge is not 26, your date of knowledge is 24th. Right? Now, this nabbing was done on 25th. On 24th, you knew about this man called Kalu, who is probably one of the accused in the mastermind. What did you do? You arrest him in June 2015. If you had a prior information a day prior to actual nabbing, you were not even that vigilant to send somebody in Calcutta, probably Calcutta, or I think Falda, West Bengal. Sorry, Falda is West Bengal. So 24th, you get to know that this is happening. Somebody would be giving money to accused number A3 would be giving money to A1 and A2, and you will be nabbing. Now A3 is left free for 2-3 months. Now, what was your source, counsel? Was it a reliable
Your,
source?
Your Lordship shows was the statement of the accused, Samir and Mono.
No. How did you got to know? How did you got to know that these two gentlemen, A1 and A2, would be coming at such a station, and they have been supplied with fake currency notes by accused number 3? Who told you? How did you got that input?
Your Lordship, a pawn shop owner named Guddu Singh gave us the
Yes,
secret information.
right. Now, did you inquire? Who did you inquire that this Gudu or whoever that accused pawn shop owner was? What was his source? What was the authenticity and relevancy of his source? Or what? Or is there a personal angle of animosity between probably or any other angle between this pawn shop owner and the accused number 1 and 2? Who was this man? He's a small shop owner. Now he says, I have got my sources. Did you try to, as an investigating agency, you're investigating such a serious crime? Any investigation question marks on this particular angle would of course favor the accused 1 and 2, because on whose insider information are they being nabbed? It is this some pawn owner. Now, whether the angles of personal animosity or any other past relationship had ever been explored.
Your Lordship, once the police cell got the information about the accused carrying FICN, because it's an a very emergency case, and they went there and they found
Perfect.
that
If
indeed
it's an emergency case,
there was
when
two
you got to
accused.
know on 24th,
Discovery of
why were you waiting for till June to nab this accused number 3, Kalu? When was Kalu arrested?
Your Lordship.
When was Kalu
He's go-
arrested?
he got arrested on 23rd June.
And you got to know of this information on 24th February, that this gentleman Kalu would be handing over fake currency notes. What was stopping you? What kind of an investigation probably has been, if you can satisfy the logicality of it? 24th, before even nabbing the accused number 1 and 2, you got to know of the involvement of accused number 3. And there was a conscious waiting for a long period till probably June to nab this accused number 3. Why? What explanation?
Sure. As the police were going step by step in their investigation, and they were getting the information after, in their investigation, in the interrogation, and the information about the exact location of the Kalu was given later on. And also, when the whole matter went into the hands of NIA, then NIA took action and they went and they detained the accused Kalu.
Counsel, come on the arrest memo, or rather the seizure memos. Come on the arrest memos, Exhibit 3, Exhibit 4. Are you, see, tell me one thing, whether this money or what this thing had been seized from the accused number 1 and 2. How do we believe? If you see the seizure memo, it is the name of accused number, the name of a independent witness which has been mentioned. No designation, address, phone number, contact number, anything has been mentioned there. Right? Now tell me one thing, how will you substantiate or buttress the authenticity of the seizure memos of accused number 1 and 2? You see the photographs. Now, if the photographs were nabbed with the accused without their presence or without their them being photographed along with the photo with the notes, the fake currency notes, can it be ascertained that they were actually recovered or seized from these accused number 1 and 2, especially when the arrest memo relies upon an independent witness whose credentials are not disclosed? How will you substantiate from this whatever the material, the facts, the credibility and authenticity of the seizure memos of both and the arrest memos?
Your Lordship, we had mentioned the name of the independent witness there, and we thought it was sufficient enough for the Caesar memo to mention their name.
Okay, proceed forward.
Yes. Mr. Vlad, Your Lordship. Further, Your Lordship, circumstantial evidence is conclusive in nature. The essence of criminal conspiracy is an agreement to do an illegal act. It is not necessary that there should be excess proof of the agreement. In case of conspiracy, the agreement between the conspirators cannot generally be directly proved, but only inferred from the established facts of the case.
Counsel, may I just give you some suggestion with permission of my learned judge, Akashji, that please first establish the offences. Then come on the role of the conspiracy, because we need to first establish the offences, then probably an angle of conspiracy, and you have to then disclose conspiracy, who are the main accused, and then who are the conspirators. So first, I would request you to establish the ingredients of the offences which probably you are alleging.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. So by this, I'll be jumping to the next sub-issue so that Your Lordship's question could be answered. Whether the accused are liable for the offences for waging war against the government, it is humbly submitted before this honorable court that during the investigation, the team of PS Special Cell was told by A1 and A2 that denomination was to be delivered in Pulwama, Jammu Kashmir, to A4, which is Peter, who would have contacted them. They further informed that said FICN's notes were to be utilized for bomb blast on Indian Army convoy on 15th August 2015, which would
Counsel, who said that?
Accused A1 and A2.
Where? Let us see the statements.
Indeed, Your Lordship.
And let me know whether for accused any statement, if so recorded under 161, would have any value whatsoever. First of all, let us see in their 161 whether they say this. Let us see the accused number 1 and 2 statement, which you are saying that they say it was for a bomb blast and planning and everything. Let us see accused number 1 and 2 statement, whether they're even in their 161 statement it is coming up, and then we go to the next question.
Your Lordship, the statement recorded under section 161 of CRPC cannot be...
No, I am first, Counsel, you said that in their 161 statements, they have categorically said about this planning of bombing or in everything. In their statement, they have said. We'll come on to the legality of in the next question. First of all, show me that where they have said in their statement.
Your Lordship, they did not say it in the statement under Section 161 CRPC, but during the investigation process in the preliminary interrogation, and they said it. The council may refer to paras 17.15, 17.15 there. No, 17.14. It is written that they were planning to carry out bomb blast in Pulwama on Indian Army convoy by 15th August in 17.14, and it was said during the investigation and the interrogation.
So, not their statements. That's not in their statements, right?
Indeed, Your Lordship, not in their
Now,
statement.
let me presume. First of all, it's an interrogation report at best. Let me presume that it was a part of their statement under 161. What value those statements would have in the eyes of law?
Your Lordship, the statements which the accused have given under Section 161 of CRPC cannot be completely admissible by the court, and it does not have any value because mere on the basis of the statement given, they cannot seek it as a ground for their innocence.
No. I'm asking other way around. So therefore, anything which has been taken out in the interrogation would also have no value vis-a-vis against them.
Your Lordship, under Section 25 of Evidence Act, the admissibility of
How?
such statements is not
How?
the
Let's go to
say.
section 25.
Your Lordship, this issue has been dealt by my co-counsel, and he would have better clarity, and he would clarify your question.
Satisfy how you're relying on 25. Let us see. What does 25 says. I'm reading for you. Confession of a to police officer not to be proved. No
Your
confession
Lordship,
made to
we
a
are not
police
relying on
officer. Yes.
we are not relying on Section 25 of Indian Evidence Act. We are
Then
relying on Section 27. As
if I heard you correctly, you had stated 25.
yes, Your Lordship, but it is 27 as the information given by the accused later on. The same for the same thing. There was discovery of facts.
Yes. So what discovery? That's why I was curious to know that why 25 is being relied upon. So how does 27 helps you? Let us connect the dots. See, A1 and A2. A3 has gone out of picture because you have not obtained sanction. You agreed to this in the beginning.
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Now, if A3 has gone out of picture, how would you connect the dots? Explain us.
Your Lordship, the CDR analysis clearly shows that they were in the conspiracy and they were in constant touch via telephone, and they were planning it since long, and they were having meetings at Kalu Mama's place, and they were also
Counsel, let me just ask you a very logical question.
His Lordship.
What is your take as to why this money was being taken from Faldia or Falda, whatever it is, to Delhi? For what purpose? Just answer me that.
They were moving ahead to Pulwama so that they can give this money to Peter and they can proceed ahead with the bomb blast.
Now tell me one thing. If somebody is to proceed towards a bomb blast in these nefarious organization which wants to, in continuance of their nefarious planning, want to execute a bomb blast, why would they rely upon a counterfeited currency and not actual currency? Because at the end of the day, their junction is, see, is to successfully execute a bomb blast. Why counterfeited currency would be used to give effect to a bomb blast? They would want to use a actual currency. You see, this is answer me this question very logically. Why would we use counterfeited currency for the purposes of payment for executing a bomb blast? See, I would have agreed if you would have said that it was to destabilize the financial economy or something else, or the something of that sort. But how would you relate just the capturing of a counterfeited agency to establish that it was it was to be used for bomb blasting?
Your Lordship, Mr. Sohail was in constant touch with Lashkar-e-Taiba, and from Bangladesh and Pakistan, they were getting money for the execution of the terrorist act, which they were about to do. And
Right.
sir,
Who said that? How are you coming? How are you? How is it a relevant fact as far as this case? And who said that? On whose disclosure you are coming onto this conclusion that they were taking money from Pakistan and Bangladesh? Who said that?
Your Lordship, accused one and accused two said that, and also Mr. Iqbal Khan also said the same, and he even saw Mr. Sohail Khan moving towards Bangladesh, and also another person was there who helped the police in making sketch of the Sohail, and it was confirmed from there that Sohail was in touch with uh, Pakistan and Bangladesh and the organization from there, and from there they were getting money.
Tell me one thing. See, Peter has died. Sohail against Sohail and Kalu, you are not proceeding. Am I right? Because no sanction has been obtained.
Your Lordship.
Am I right? Against Sohail and against Kalu, you have given up your right to proceed. Right?
Yes, Your Lordship.
Yes. Now, once you give up your right to proceed against Sohail and Kalu, which as per your charge sheet were the main conspirators, planners, propagators, everything, would any in their absence would any case be furthered against A1 and A2? If yes, how? Tell me the legal mechanism. Just to
Your
give you a
Lord.
hint, can a sanction be obtained post facto?
Your Lordship, the same question would be answered by my co-counsel as there is paucity of time and he would answer your Lordship question.
Okay.
It was pleasure repeating before your Lordship.
Counsel, straight away start from this, answer this question.
With due permission of this Honorable Court, the Council would like to proceed.
Please, please.
Yes, Your Lordship. Uh, Your Lordship,
Counsel,
the
again, we
con-
reiterate first question with you. What is the stage we are arguing at?
we are arguing at the trial stage, Your Lordship.
How? It is just a filing of charge sheet. Has the cognizance been taken by the court?
No, Your Lordship. After the investigation was over by the NIA team, the charge sheet has been filed and it has been presented before this
Yes.
Honorable
So,
Court.
counsel, what happens? Are you aware of what happens after filing of charge sheet?
The court takes cognizance of that charges which has
Perfect.
been alleged.
Perfect. Now, thereafter, what happens?
Thereafter, the prosecution has to prove the alleged charges beyond
Any
reasonable
stage of
doubt,
that?
Your Lordship.
So therefore, probably are we in consonance with the fact that it is the stage of cognizance which is being argued?
Indeed, yes, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, because the investigation has been completed by the NIA team, with due permission of this Honorable Court, the Council seeks time to just clarify the doubts of the Lordship.
Please proceed. Mr. Akash, over to you.
Please proceed.
Your Lordship, investigation has been completed successfully by the NIA team, as all the three accused, namely Samir, Monu, and Kalu, are in custody, and Sohail has been absconded, and Peter has been died. So, investigation has been completed, Your Lordship, and it has been presented before this Honorable Court to take cognizance of this matter.
So that's why. So we cannot proceed against your agreed. We cannot proceed against Kalu and Sohail.
Your Lordship, Kalu's name has been mentioned in the charge sheet, Your Lordship.
But without a sanction, can we proceed?
The court has the inherent power to
Thus, a
proceed.
criminal court has an inherent power. It's a very dubious statement. Let me remind you. Does a lower court or the trial court or even under NIA Act would have an inherent power? And if it is, can give me the section.
Indeed, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, under Section 14 of the National Investigation Agency Act, the court has the power to uh, incriminate the accused allegations.
Incriminate.
Here, the accused allegations.
No, what does 14 says? See, what is it? It just specifies that the offense punishable under this act shall be cognizable. How does that affect you, or what is the relevance to you? You see, counsel, please. Why I have been agreed. You guys missed out on para 20. Please come on the para 20 of the moot problem. It is very clear. The problem is very clear. What stage are we talking about? You have para 20.
Yes, Your Lordship. Pilot 20. Your Lordship, it talks about the prayer, Your Lordship, and it pleads the court to take cognizance of the offences committed by the accused.
Right? Thereafter, so I could have appreciated if you would have gone further and probably would have, come to the interim stage before the trial, any which ways. So, as the learned counsel first said, that there was no clarity in the problem. The problem is very clear. Even in the para 20 stage, it is the stage, it is probably what we were inquiring from you. Right? Now, answer us, can we proceed further against Mr. Kalu and Sohail without even having a sanction, requisite sanction?
Yes, Your Lordship. Indeed, yes.
Under which provision of law?
Under the NIA Act, Your Lordship, the court has the power to proceed
Mr.
for the
Counsel,
offences that has been
please provide us a
committed.
section. Which section empowers the court or empowers the court which you are suggesting, you are implying on suggesting?
Your Lordship, under Section 13, Clause 1, read with Section 14 and read with Section 16 of the National Investigation Agency Act.
13 talks about punishment for unlawful activities. So, how is that of help?
Your Lordship, the accused has committed the offences of terrorist
No,
activities
but
under UAP.
that is all subject to the section number 45. No court shall take cognizance of an offence under chapter 4 and 5. The so-called charge sheet is under chapter 4 and 5. You see section 45.
Yes, Lordship, it talks about the bar of jurisdiction.
So that's what I'm saying. So how does the section 13 which you're referring to helps you? There is an inherent bar. I am asking, is there a judgment to support and buttress your argument to the effect that I can still proceed? We can still proceed without a requisite legal sanction.
Your Lordship, under Section 47 of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967, no court is empowered to question the steps taken by the competent authority for the
Counsel, it
investigation.
is sometimes better to not answer wrongly. It is better not to answer than to answer wrongly. 47 is a jurisdiction barred of civil courts, and that is in regards to the illegal proceeds of crime and the money, the properties made by these terrorists and everything. So 47 doesn't help you, right?
The Council 6 apologize.
No problem. Proceed further.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, the Council would like to begin with the issue whether the statements made to police during custody are admissible in the court of law and can be made a basis for the conviction of the accused. Your Lordship, the Council would like to cite the uh, Section 15 of the Terrorist and Disruptive Activities Prevention Act 1987. Though this act is not currently in force, still the Council would like to draw the judge's attention behind the mind applied by the Parliament in this act. That legislation at that time also intended to put specifically these provisions that legislation that certain confessions made to police officer to be taken into consideration. Section 5 reads, as notwithstanding anything contained in the code or in the Indian Evidence Act 1872, but subject to these provisions, a confession made by a person before a police officer not lower in the rank than a superintendent of police and recorded by police officer either in writing shall be admissible before this honorable court. And and therefore in the instant case also, your lordship, the entire statements of the accused were made before the NIA team headed by the chief investigation officer, superintendent of police Mr. Rupinder Singh, which are satisfying the requirements of section 15 of the
Tell me one thing.
unlawful.
How do you, first of all, tell me the provision that the law which you're talking about is set aside, already been, it's not no more in force. Am I correct?
Yes, your lordship, indeed, yes.
Number one. Number two, tell me a provision CRPC and or Evidence Act or UAPA Act which authorizes this.
Your lordship, though the acts cited here are not in existence, but the prosecution would like.
Counsel, you're hitting on a wrong nail. Please, you yourself are beginning with the point. Please try to buttress a case. You have a fairly good case from the prosecution side. Please understand the requirements which you have to prove at this stage of, this is a stage of cognizance. It's a prima facie thing which you have to argue. So
Yes, your lordship.
don't even fall into the trap, fall into our trap which we want you to get trapped. Avoid that.
Indeed,
Please
yes, your
don't.
lordship.
Please, there is quote me a provision from existing laws, whether it may be CRPC, Evidence Act, or UAPA, which allows such a provision to happen. Is there any?
Your lordship, the council just wanted to point out the intention behind the parliament. What was their intention to enact these kinds of laws?
Over to brother Akash.
Okay, Council, I just have one question as of now.
Yes, your lordship.
So the statements made by the accused in front of the police, what is the weight to those statements?
Your
Why we
lordship,
should give weight to that statements? Like, what is the law for that? Can you explain that part?
Your lordship, the statements made to a police officer during the investigation or the custody time, uh, any statements made before the police officer cannot be admissible under section 25 read with section 26 of the Indian Evidence Act.
So there is no weight attached to it, right?
But apart from that, your lordship, section 27 has the weight to make these statements admissible before this honorable court, because there was a subsequent discovery of facts which has been discovered
Yes,
in this case.
that is why we are wanting you to highlight that. It's a fairly good case on that. Let's try to connect the dots on on specifically the subsequent facts which you are talking about vis-a-vis 27. Let us be very clear.
Indeed, yes, your lordship.
Let's go on the pointer note A, B, C, D. These are the facts. 27 done.
Your lordship, in the instant case, as statements provided by the accused, the discovery of CDR train tickets as seized from both the accused Samir and Monu, and phone number found from his house, which provides their unlawful association, and in para 17.36 if the bench may refer, the technical evidence in the form of call details analysis of mobile phones belonging to the accused person has been collected. And apart from that, your lordship, the content, the recovery of crime articles can also lead to conviction and recovery of FICNs, technical evidences, thereby establishing their plans of bomb blast on Indian Army convoy, even if not performed, does not in any way dilute the evidentiary value of the prosecution version.
Let me simplify your case. For a moment, I am with you that there may be a penal offences attracted under IPC, right?
Yes,
Just
lordship.
satisfy us on the point how UAP is attracted. Any provision of UAP.
UAP, your lordship,
I mean,
the report disclosed by the CFSL CBI, which declared that FICN of high quality attracts the
see,
offences
so
under
therefore,
UAPA.
so let's invite your attention to section 15.
Terrorist acts, your lordship.
Yeah,
Definition.
UAP Act.
Yes.
See, when the act is very clear, this act is Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. So don't read it as a terrorist act. Read it the way it is.
Uh,
Now, right now, when I'm talking about Section 15, now Section 15 specifically, see, because your is 15(1)(3)(a), your charges or charge sheet which has been furthered is under 1(1)(3)(a), right?
yes, Your Lordship.
Right now, you see the charges: damage to the monetary stability of India by way of production or smuggling or circulation of high quality counterfeit Indian paper currency coin or of any other material. Would induction of 10 lakhs rupees, let me presume a case against the accused, would induction of 10 lakh rupees disturb the monetary stability of India? Is it such big an amount that UAPA is attractive? Answer me that first. If it is, answer me, try to on a logic and in a legal premise. Because it's consciously the legislature has chosen the word, it damages the monetary stability of India. It is not mere usage of counterfeited currency notes. I may be in concurrence with you on the fact that there may be a prima facie case of IPC 489 BC, whatever it is. But tell me one thing: is it to such extent? Let me remind you, it is 2015 we are talking about. Even in 2015, the induction of 10 lakh rupee currency notes was to such an extent that it would have destabilized the monetary framework of India.
Uh, Your Lordship, to answer the Lordship questions, the 10 lakh rupees FICN which had been discovered by the police from the accused, uh, it was just the amount which has been seized, but it it might be the case that they have having more than 10 lakhs FICNs, and that can further can be used into the.
See, S, even your charge sheet doesn't whispers about that. There are yet did you say that recovery is yet to be made? Yet to be made. Further recoveries are to be made.
Indeed, not, Your Lordship.
Now tell me one more thing. How much time is left, Court Master?
Sir, the allotted time for the first team is over. Already
Okay,
over now.
just 2 minutes. Now, counsel, answer me that. The accused supposedly are still in custody, right?
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Cognizance yet to be taken, right? Till August, charge sheet cognizance had not been taken. Now, aren't these accused are now under an illegal custody, even as per UAPA Act?
Your Lordship, the
What
custody
is
cannot.
maximum detention period as a prosecuting agency you can keep an accused behind bars? Maybe in PC and GC including, police custody and judicial custody including.
Your Lordship, in common law, it is 15 days custody is allotted in the judicial custody. And the period of 6 months for the Your Lordship, the counsel is not sure about the period.
Okay. Better to answer that than to answer wrong. Right.
Yes.
Right. Anything you want to conclude, Speaker 2? Akashji, do you want to ask anything?
No, no, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Your Lordship, with due permission of this honorable court, as there is paucity of time, the counsel would like to come to the prayer.
You've
Yeah.
already read your prayer.
Yeah. No, just reiterate your prayer, and if you want to even modulate or change it right now, we are ready to allow you.
Yes.
Ready to allow you to do it.
Much obliged, Your Lordship.
Let's first see what your prayer is.
Indeed, Your Lordship. Wherefore, in the light of the issues raised, arguments advanced, and the authorities cited, may this honorable court to please to take cognizance of the allegations as alleged by the prosecution, the accused number 1 Samir, accused number 2 Monu, and accused number 3 Kalu, and accordingly convict the accused for their allegations.
Just a minute. Just a minute. So otherwise, your prayer was earlier,
It was for the conviction, Your Lordship. That is,
right? Now,
yeah.
counsel, just for a moment. So can we straight away after taking cognizance convict them?
Your Lordship, after the cognizance, the court will go through the procedure established by law to hear the witness
Okay.
or
Right.
cross-examine the witness.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. It was pleasure before pleading before this
Pleasure
honorable
is
court, Your
all
Lordship.
ours. Pleasure is all ours to see young budding lawyers arguing well.
Much obliged, Your Lordship.
Thank you so much, team 512. So, with your judge's permission, with the learned judge's permission, can the second team start?
Yeah. Please, Akashji.
Yes, please.
So, team 547, speaker 1. First, I'll request you to set your camera straight. It's inverted.
Just before we start, I'd like to ask TC547, what is the reason that you guys have not switched on your cameras during the whole proceedings?
We plead your ignorance. Actually, forgot to.
I dropped a message also.
I didn't.
Let us have an experience of a virtual moot court, of course. But the experience would only come when all the parties are. We thought you guys are not there even for a moment.
Apologies, Your Lordship.
And please get this very clear that in this moot competition, when the other team is speaking, if you don't switch on your cameras, I believe that there exists high likelihood that you are using unfair means to compete in this round. So there is a presumption which I'll take that into consideration while marking you. Okay, please go ahead.
Your Lordship, actually, we were too much into the discussion that I completely forgot. I'm really sorry for not opening my camera. And Your Lordship, about the unfair means, actually, how can not we cannot possibly use any unfair means because it's not our turn.
Okay. That's why I said that there exists high likelihood. I'm not saying that you guys have done that. There was a message from the court master that you can be disqualified even for that. None of you replied to that, and you are not paying any attention to this chat box or to the court master's messages on this chat box. But please don't worry about this. Please start your arguments.
May it please the court, the counsel is appearing on behalf of the defense in the present matter. The counsel seeks permission to address the bench collectively as Your Lordship.
Counsel, Akashi, with your permission.
Please, sir.
Counsel, tell me one thing. Do you even have a locus standi at this stage?
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Do you have a locus standi to appear in the court prior to the stage of cognizance?
Your Lordship, under Section 13, Clause 1 of National Investigation Agency, notwithstanding anything in the code, every scheduled offences investigated by the agency shall be tried only by the special court.
Counsel, I think my question, probably I'll reiterate my question. Does an accused have a locus standi in the court prior to the court taking cognizance and summoning him?
Your Lordship, the counsel seeks a forgiveness for not having adequate knowledge about it.
Okay. Right. So what is your take? What are your prayers? Let us see that.
Your Lordship, we are praying that the accused are not guilty and they should not be held liable under the Section 4.
Just read your prayers.
Therefore, in the lights of issue raised, argument advanced, and authority cited, may this honorable court be pleased to adjudge, hold, and declare that the accused are not guilty, or pass any other order it may be.
Again, counsel, to you the same question. Can we as judges do this at this moment?
No, Your Lordship. You can do it only after taking into account all the evidences and all the witnesses.
No. I am talking about the stages. what is the stage as of now? We are as per the mood problem. The mood problem, let me be very fair, is very clear on the stage which it expected you guys to be, to argue. Therefore, the whether the prayers which you have sought are maintainable, number one. Number two, if presumably you agree to that the prayers may not be maintainable, but you want to improvise, what would be your legal standard as to which stage you are arguing in a criminal trial?
Your Lordship, we are at the stage of trial.
Has the cognizance been taken? Can the trial commence without the cognizance?
Indeed not, Your Lordship.
Okay, what happens after if we take cognizance, presumably?
After taking the cognizance, then we can plead guilty or not guilty, and then you can convict the accused as well.
Okay, proceed with the contentions. Your legal, you deal with the contentions now.
Indeed, Your Lordship. Issue 1 deals with the question whether the investigation was carried out efficiently. It is humbly submitted before this honorable court that the investigation to the pertaining case has loopholes, which indicates that the investigation has not been carried out in a proper manner. It is humbly submitted that there are question marks on the confession made by the accused in police custody. The evidence collected against the accused does not specify that the accused are guilty. It is humbly submitted before this honorable court that the
Give us pointers from the facts, not by reading the memorial or your screen. I want 6 reasons in 6 defects in your investigation, which you are pointing out to take away your case. That's say there are 6 reasons: A, B, C, D, E, F.
Your Lordship, we are claiming that the confession made by the accused is not even admissible under
Which
section 7.
confession are you referring to? The confession which you're referring to favors you. The statement under 161, the statements which are being made under 161, you're referring to those statements.
Indeed not, Your Lordship. The confession made by the accused in the police custody, which was even cited by the prosecution. So we are saying that those confessions are not admissible even under Evidence Act 27 because it requires post confession. It requires subsequent discovery to confirm or prove those confessions. In the present case, after the confession of Sameer and Monu that they were carrying FICN after procuring it from
Counsel, just answer first question. Do you agree the custody of these FICNs worth 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs each were with both of your accused? Do you agree the custody was in with your accused? Yes or no?
Yes, Your Lordship.
Do you agree?
They were in possession of FIC. They were not aware. For them, they were just carrying. They were in possession of 2 bags, and they were under the assumption that they are carrying funds for some NGO activity, and they were not aware that it is for some terrorist act and it is in fake currency note.
Right. Now, counsel, tell me one thing. Whether they were aware or not aware about the contents of the bags and everything, it is a case which will be proved on trial, right?
Yes, indeed, Your Lordship.
So at the stage of cognizance, or presumably even if I say this is the argument on charge which the moot court wanted to have, first of all, it only clarifies there is a stage of cognizance which you are arguing, right? At this stage, what is the standard test? It is a test of prima facie case. You cannot. We cannot. At this juncture, can any statement or document filed by prior to the trial, can any statement or document filed by the defense be relied upon by the judge to afford any sort of a relief vis-a-vis discharge or vis-a-vis not to take cognizance? Can any document, I say for example an unimpeachable document, but can we still rely on that? Any of the documents or information of documents of the the accused?
Your Lordship, the council is arguing on the fact that they are not accused under the said serious sections. So we are just
Yeah.
giving proof that there are loopholes in the investigation made by the prosecution, and hence there's no sufficient proof to even consider them accused under the said section.
Counsel, that exactly is precisely our question. At this stage, when there is a question of only taking cognizance, whether the benchmark test of to prove beyond reasonable doubt would come into picture. It is the stage of cognizance, right? We would have been agreed that if supposedly the trial would have happened, and after the trial we would be hearing the final arguments. You would have been correct in pointing out that the test of beyond reasonable doubt would come into picture. But at this juncture, at this stage, can that test be attracted? That's my question precisely.
Your Lordship, the counsel seeks a forgiveness for not having adequate knowledge.
Please proceed. Akashi, over to you.
Please proceed.
It is humbly submitted before this honorable court that the confession made by the accused in police custody is not admissible. Section 25 of the Indian Evidence Act is intended to protect the accused in its widest and the most popular signification. By saying that no
Counsel,
confession.
so this was argued by the opposing counsel that even though it does not have any weight independently, but if it is supported with certain explorations, then it has certain weight, and they have referred to certain facts. So can you reply to that part?
Indeed, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, Section 27 definitely relies on the doctrine of confirmation by subsequent events, but in the incident case, no such confirmation or confirmation has been made. For example, all the accused, that is Samir, Kalu, Mama, and Monu, confessed during police custody that the Samir and Monu had procured the seized FICN from Kalu Mama to deliver to Peter, and they further revealed more details. But Your Lordship, the counsel would like to humbly contend that the prosecution has clearly failed to prove these confessions. The After the post confession, the investigation officer searched Peter's house, but they didn't find any incriminating evidence that could have indicated towards their plan of executing a bomb blast, and it is clearly stated in fact 17.12 of your charge sheet. Similarly, even after searching Suhail's house multiple times, the investigation officer didn't find any incriminating evidence which could have indicated towards the criminal conspiracy.
Counsel. So you're representing all the accused, correct?
We are representing Samir and Monu.
Not the other accused.
As per the orders, the case is against Samir and Monu.
The charge sheet is against all other accused. Akashi, if I'm not wrong, is there a clarification to that effect somewhere?
I don't think so, sir.
Your Lordship, in the charge sheet, there has been no mention of for Sohail and Peter and Kalu. There's been no mention of the section under which they have been accused. And as per the orders of district court, it is said that the trial has to be done on Samir and Monu.
See, I know you are taking advantage of the questions which we asked to the opposite party, but let me now come out with a counter. Do we not have a power to summon the accused number 3 and 4 on our own?
Indeed, Your Lordship, to establish that with
under section 319 CRPC, we have all the powers. And sanction can be post facto be provided by them. How is that a problem? See, in your memorials, you are representing all the accused persons. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Now, conveniently, in the course of arguments, when you would have heard the questioning of course, the prosecution, you would have said, yes, we can escape out, but you cannot now conveniently take a route.
In a memorial, we have only presented the case on behalf of Samir and Monu.
Can you screen share your memorials for a moment?
Your Lordship,
Yes, sir.
Your Lordship, right now the device I'm using, I don't have the memorial on this device.
Okay. Proceed forward. Akashi, over to you. I'll look into their memorials for a moment.
Sir, I'll screen share it. I'll screen share it if you want. Please proceed.
So, Your Lordship, they have even searched Sohail's house multiple times, but they didn't find any incriminating evidence which could have indicated towards the criminal activity or could have confirmed the confessions of the accused. Now, coming down to the CDR analysis, the counsel would like to state that CDR analysis only shows frequent telephonic contact between Samir, Monu, Kalu Mama, Peter, and Sohail, and few visits of Samir to West Bengal. Your Lordship, the prosecution cannot frame my clients under such serious charges on the basis of such irrelevant facts. Mere telephonic contact between friends or Samir's random visit to West Bengal cannot amount to criminal conspiracy. The defense would have agreed with the contention of the prosecution if they would have produced before the court a few call recordings or chats where all five are seen discussing or even mentioning their plan of executing a bomb blast, but it is clearly not the case. Fact number 17.36 of the charge sheet states that the contents of the mobile phone seized from the accused person only shows the number of accused persons stored in their phone book and nothing else. Furthermore, the prosecution also failed to establish that Sohail was in touch with Lakshar-e-Taiba or he crossed the border and went to Bangladesh. In fact, fact number 17.28 of the charge sheet, it is clearly stated that even BSF post officer could not provide any necessary information about the infiltration of at India-Bangladesh border.
Yeah. So, counsel, can you please specify why you have dislodged the other two accused, or rather the other two accused from Monu, the accused number 1 and 2 in your memorial?
Your Lordship, this case was launched against Samir and Monu. As per
No, the charge sheet is against. If I'm not wrong, let me reiterate. You see, come to para 12.1. Come to para 11.3. Kalu at the rate.
We were referring to this only. There's been no mention of section under which they have been convicted in the charge sheet also.
Who?
Kalu, Mama, there's been no mention of the sections under which they have been convicted.
No, I. Just a minute, I'll if you want that also. You see, please, para 18.
11.3.
No, para 18 I'm talking about.
But 11.3, the official charge sheet, there's no mention of the section under which they have been convicted. Kalu, Mama, Sohail, as well as.
No, please, para 18 clarifies charge. It is considered sufficient material evidence come on record to charge the following case for the commission of offences noted against them. Kalu at the rate Mama so and so. Peter has died. Kalu at the rate Mama under almost the same sections.
Your Lordship, but the sanctions have been launched against.
I'll take this argument on record if you show it from your memorials with regard to the issue of sanction. That's the reason you have not consciously made all of them as a party.
Your Lordship, we were from the very beginning aware that this case was against Samir and Monu only, and therefore everywhere we have mentioned Samir and Monu in a memorial.
But counsel, very frankly, you are representing the defense. Defense is being rendered by accused for all the accused persons unless the moot problem says something different. Now, I would have appreciated your contention if probably you would have said, I am representing accused number 1 and 2. My co-counsel is representing accused number 3 and 5. 4 has died. That I could have still accepted it. But if you do not, if you want me to buy your argument that you had known that because sanction was not accorded, that's why we did not file them. I want to have that reference in your memorials. If it is, then I'll buy your argument, otherwise not. See, I know you guys are Akashji. This clear that they were listening to the questioning to the previous team, which dispels our doubt that you were not attentive. You guys are very attentive, but to substantiate this, I would want to have clarity from your memorials. If it is, only then would I buy your argument. Otherwise, there is a adverse inference against you that probably this came up into question, and this is a if it is, see, there is a possibility that you said no, you presume that it is only against 1 and 2, but there is other thing to say that we did not proceeded against Kalu and others because there was no sanction. It ought to be reflected in your memorials.
Your Lordship, this particular line is nowhere mentioned in the memorial.
Right. Now tell me one thing. So, are you also representing Sohail? Sohail, am I right? The accused number 5. Oh, no, sorry.
In a memorial, we are defending each one of them because they all are connected, and if any one of them will be held guilty, then the others will automatically come into that radar. But as far as your question is concerned,
Are you representing Sohail?
Your Lordship, we are representing only Sameer and Monu in this case.
No, but if we hold them guilty, they would only be held guilty for planning and planning the offense. The actual offense has been made by 1 and 2. So, who is representing the other 3 accused? Or other 2 accused, sorry.
The council feels so ignorant.
Proceed. Your Lordship, the prosecution cannot, as stated earlier, the prosecution cannot frame my clients under such serious charges on the basis of such irrelevant facts like CDR analysis. Further, the prosecution also failed to establish that Sohail was in touch with Lakshya Taiba as he crossed the border and went to Bangladesh. Counsel, you take a stand. Either you are representing Sohail or not representing Sohail.
Indeed, not Your Lordship. We are also for Sameer and Monu to be held innocent. We are also contending that the other the person in which Sohail and they were in contact with Sohail and Kalu Mama. So if they both are being held,
So okay, fine. You admit they were in contact with Sohail and Kalu Mama with they were in contact with Sohail. You are admitting it.
Yes, indeed, Your Lordship. But we are saying that they were just mere.
See the CDR reports. Counsel, come. Let us come to the CDR reports. Come to the CDR reports. Come to the CDR report.
Indeed, Your Lordship.
See, it is not our job to tell you the case which.
Your Lordship, 17.16.
Just a minute. I'm just opening it. Just a minute. Name of 17.16. 17.16. No, just a minute. 16. No, this is not CDR. You see, now why you want to 17.16? You see, Sameer and Monu, they have not been told to be in touch with Sohail ever.
So, Your Lordship, that could be we were trying to prove that even if that could be a mistake, but they were in contact with Kalu Mama, and Kalu Mama was in
Please
contact with
understand,
Sohail.
counsel, you are representing the accused. Once the prosecution's report goes in your favor and you are taking it to the contrary, that we are trying to know if they were in contact, you admitted that you were in contact with Sohail. Please.
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Right? My only point was, when you read the problems, prosecution report is in your favor. You see A1 and A2. It is even the prosecution accepts that you were never in touch with Sohail. Why are you taking the bull by horns? See, this is a mood problem. Correct me if my problem is, I may be having a different set. If it is so, let me correct me. But you don't need to prove something which is already admitted by prosecution in your favor.
Indeed, Your Lordship, was saying that I was just trying to say that there was just a telephonic contact between friends, which cannot amount.
But Sohail, as of now, why do you want to merge A1, A2 with Sohail once they are not admittedly by prosecution? That's what the point is.
Your Lordship, actually, I was trying to also state that Kalu Mama is also not innocent. So, and he was in touch with Sohail. So that is why I was referring to Sohail.
But are you representing Kalu Mama?
No, indeed, not, Your Lordship. But again, to prove that Sameer and Monu are not guilty, I'll have to take everyone in radar.
Never do that. You'll your client would suffer. That's why, always be very clear with which defense, because for A1 and A2 to mix their defense versions with other accused would be an anathema to their defense. Please proceed. Akashi, over to you.
Please proceed.
Your Lordship, the defense would have agreed with this contention of CDR of prosecution if they would have produced in the court few recordings or chats where all five of them are seen discussing or even mentioning about the plan. But it is not the case. Fact number, as stated earlier, 17.36 state that the contents of mobile phone seized from the accused person only shows the number of the accused person stored in phone books and nothing else. Furthermore, the prosecution also mentioned about the circumstantial evidence to which the counsel would like to submit that in Bhagat Ram versus State of Punjab, it was laid down that where the case depends on conclusion drawn upon circumstances, the cumulative effect of the circumstances must be such as to negative the innocence of the accused and bring offense beyond any reasonable doubt. Therefore, Your Lordship, even in case of circumstantial evidence, the circumstances take as evidence should be relevant and strong enough to prove the guilt of the accused beyond reasonable doubt, which is not the case in the present matter. Kalu Mama, during his confession in police custody, revealed that this deal of carrying a fake currency note was supposed to be materialized during first week of February, and for the same, Sameer and Monu traveled to West Bengal, but due to Iqbal Khan's arrest, the deal could not materialize. To confirm this confession of Kalu Mama, the prosecution has cited the fact number 17.30 of the charge sheet, which states that the CDR analysis of mobile number of Sameer shows his presence in Bardhaman and Birbhum district of West Bengal on 5th Feb 2015, and CDR analysis of mobile number of Monu shows that his mobile was switched off from 3rd Feb.
Counsel, sorry to interrupt, but the more you're arguing, probably you're snatching away your case from to take the case to trial, because all the arguments which you have buttressed would be very fine once they are made after trial. Please try to appreciate the arguments which are to be made at this juncture are to be consciously be kept in mind, that we as a defense counsel, you're attempting that even cognizance is not taken, even a process is not issued against your client. So probably the disputed facts, which probably for either of the parties may have their own versions, rather than focusing or emphasizing upon that, let's be very point blank onto as to why Sonu and the other one is
Sameer and Monu.
Monu. try to separate them from the whole narrative, so that, and with an unimpeaching admitted documents which are there on record. Let me be very clear, because that would help us to analyze, understand that even there is even is there a case even to issue process against these two accused, A1 and A2.
Your Lordship, the council is trying to establish that they were just in mere possession of FIC.
Let us have on pointers. Number one point, tell me one. Leave about the judgments. Let's point. Number one point which you have is why Sonu and Monu, the process should not even be issued. Number one.
Because they were just in mere possession of FIC and they were not aware that they are fake currency notes.
Right. Okay. So you admit that they were in possession, right?
Of those two bags, but they
recovery.
never...
So you admit the recovery and seizure memo to be correct, right?
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Okay. Then third point.
Your Lordship, there has been no proper evidences proved, proper evidences given by the prosecution to say...
Don't say proper evidence. Which evidence you're talking about?
About the CDR analysis and even...
Yes, CDR analysis. How does it help?
Through CDR analysis, the prosecution is trying to prove that they were part of criminal conspiracy as they were in contact with the other accused, and they and Samir visited West Bengal many times, frequently last year. And as I was about to state about his visit to West Bengal on 5th February. They are basing their on circumstantial...
Why 489C IPC is not attracted?
Your Lordship, because there is no mens rea.
Mens rea cannot be decided at the forefront, no? That's precisely the question is. Mens rea, see, the moment you admit seizure and recovery, I would have taken your argument to be valid if you would have challenged or doubted the seizure and recovery, which ideally should have been done. But the moment you admit the authentify the seizure and recovery from the two accused, you lose your right to say that there was no mens rea, because then mens rea is a matter of trial. Right? Proceed. So, Codemaster, how much time is left?
For just 2-3 minutes more.
Right. So, Speaker 1, conclude your arguments on that.
Your Lordship, about UAPA, also about UAPA, the accused is not attracting UAPA as well, because as per Section 15 of terrorist, Section 15, an act to damage the monetary stability of India by way of production or smuggling or circulation of high quality counterfeit Indian currency, coin, or any other material will constitute terrorist act. But in the present case, as per the report, as per the CFSL report, on the fact number 17.9, the final report said that the currency notes are only fake currency notes, and there was no mentioning of high quality fake Indian currency notes. Further, 17.9, Your Lordship.
So, even taking your case at best, so 489B and 489C is still attracted?
Your Lordship, this will be dealt in detail by my co-counsel.
Okay. Counsel 2, please. You have anything else to say, Speaker 1?
Just I would like to conclude it. A conviction under Section 17, 18, 20 of UAPA, it is necessary to have knowledge about the terrorist act, but in the instant case, accused are pleading that they didn't have any knowledge about the FICN or the terrorist act. Therefore, Your Lordship, Samir and Monu are not guilty under UAPA Act. I would like to call upon my co-counsel to move ahead with issue 2.
Yeah, please.
If your Lordship are satisfied with issue 1 and 3, the council now seeks permission to move ahead with issue 2.
Council, we are still not satisfied with the answer with respect to our question, that what stage are we arguing on, and are the prayers justifiable for the stage we are at?
Indeed, Your Lordship, the question put forth by the bench will be answered with the help of the arguments that the counsel will be presenting before you.
So sorry. So sorry. Yeah, please.
Indeed, yeah.
Proceed,
It
proceed,
is,
proceed.
it is humbly submitted that the accused are not guilty under section 120B, 489B and 489C of IPC
Which
1860.
accused are you? Which accused are you representing?
Your Lordship, the council is has based the arguments for the accused Monu and Samir.
I'm sorry. Which accused are you representing?
Accused Samir and Monu.
What is your stand on the other accused?
Your Lordship, our entire memorial has taken into consideration all the facts that have been mentioned in the moot preposition.
So they've
But
been charge sheeted. You have been the other two are also three other are also charge sheeted.
indeed, Your Lordship, but our memorial has entirely based for the accused Samir and Monu.
Counsel, let me put a different question to you. Accused number 1 and 2 are in custody, right?
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Right. Now answer me. Do they now the right of default bail?
Indeed, Your Lordship, can you please repeat the question?
Do they now entail a right to default bail under even UAPA Act?
The council seeks forgiveness for not having the adequate knowledge.
Okay. Now tell me one thing. What is the maximum period of detention which can be accorded to any of the accused, including the police custody and the judicial custody?
According to section 120B of the Indian Penal Code 1860.
120B, I'm talking about detention. PC and JC, police custody and judicial custody. What is the maximum period? Any idea?
Indeed, not, Your Lordship.
Because that should be point. Okay, fine. Then let's proceed.
Your Lordship, do I have the permit to answer this question of yours?
Speaker 1, I think, are we allowed to take, you answer it, but probably, yeah, please.
Your Lordship, in police custody it's 15 days, and for judicial it should not be more than 90 days.
Right. Now, is it the same for UAPA also?
For scheduled offences, if they take permission from the magistrate, the police officer could extend. Your Lordship, the council pleads ignorance on this question. Okay.
Counsel, you yourself took this question. I did not ask you. You took this question. I was asking you, your co-counsel, because that is an ground which should have been buttressed to get your accused out on default bail.
Your Lordship, I was just answering that 90 days and 14 days. Actually, I was aware of this fact.
But your case is UAPA. That's why that's a general provision of remand under 167 CRPC. But let us, our case is UAPA. There is a difference here. But the difference is a catch.
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Your accuser entitled to a default bail right now. Right? Any which ways. Proceed forward.
Indeed, Your Lordship. Section 120B of the Indian Penal Code 1860 states that whoever is a party to a criminal conspiracy to commit an offence punishable with death imprisonment for a term of 2 years or upwards be punished in the same manner as if he had abetted such a crime. From the given facts, it is clear that there was no involvement of the accused in the criminal conspiracy. A very necessary
requisite. We are saying, the prosecuting agency is saying you are the main accused persons. You're not just the conspirators. You have committed the crime. You're not merely the conspirators. Or probably you're not the planners. You are the executors, planners as well as executors.
Indeed, Your Lordship, the alleged acts of the accused do not fall under the purview of the criminal conspiracy as defined in the Indian Penal Code 1860. The necessary requisite of Section 120B is the knowledge of the main object and the purpose of the conspiracy. and the prosecution has
Counsel,
failed to
again
prove
here,
mens rea.
again, reiterating the same question. Does at the stage of cognizance, can you or can we go into this detailed questioning or of detailing of that your version is correct or the other version party's version is correct? It is at the stage after the trial it will be decided. Now, and therefore, please appreciate this is a stage of cognizance which we are dealing with. Let us be very focused on that prospect, and it's a very good case from the accused number 1 and 2 side. Let us just talk about unimpeachable and admitted facts by the prosecuting agency, which can probably avoid issuance of summons to the accused number 1 and 2.
Indeed, Your Lordship. The very first essential, the very first essential of Section 120B is the knowledge of the main object, and I would like to draw to your attention, as mentioned in the Exhibit 7, line number 25, the concession made by Samir. He has clearly stated that. He didn't knew the fact that the bags which Kalu Mama asked him.
Counsel, you are trying to take use of your 161 statement.
Indeed, Your Lordship.
You're relying upon your statements under 161.
Your Lordship, the council is talking about the concession made by the Samir, by the accused Samir and Monu.
Exhibit what?
In Exhibit 7, line number 25 of the concessional statement made by
Exhibit 7.
Indeed, Your Lordship, yes.
Now, let us you called us in a very interesting domain. So, tell me one thing. First of all, are any accused or accused counsels allowed to rely upon, refer any defense version or render any defense version prior to the issuance of summons or taking cognizance?
Indeed, not, Your Lordship.
Right. So, indeed, you are agreeing. No, they do not, right?
Indeed, Your Lordship. Yes.
Right. So, the second question emanates from the very same. When we are at a stage of issuance of summons, right? Now, whether we issue or not, the points are to be only narrated which, in case, because the moot court proposition is such, therefore, you have an option to argue your case that even summons should not be issued. But only the catch point with that is only the unimpeachable factual admitted versions can only be relied upon. So if you say that because your co-counsel has admitted the authenticity of seizure and recovery memo, so my answer question is that can we now say that they were, once you say that it has been recovered from them, now the prosecution has a different version, you have a different version to the facts. Can it be considered even at this stage without the trial being commenced?
Indeed, not, Your Lordship. The council doesn't rely upon this fact.
Fair answer, whatever it is, fair answer. Counsel, what do you mean when I say that the court has taken cognizance or court has not taken cognizance? What do you mean by that?
Indeed, Your Lordship, the court, as the arguments are based upon the accused about. Indeed, Your Lordship, the accused have been held guilty, and we are arguing on this fact that
nobody is held guilty. It is yet to. We cannot pronounce a judgment. First, this is not even a stage. So, accused, nobody is held guilty. Neither as per the moot court sheet, neither we are entitled at this stage.
Indeed, Your Lordship, we are defending the accused from being held guilty, and if Your Lordship permits, now I would like to I would like to state my arguments in order to
Please proceed.
defend. Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, the counsel on behalf of the prosecution has based their entire argument on the assumption that there was telephonic conversation between the accused Sameer, Monu and Kalu Mama. The counsel on behalf of the accused humbly states that mere telephonic conversation between friends cannot amount to criminal conspiracy. There were many loopholes
Tell me one
during the
thing. Tell me one thing.
investigation.
So you are agreeing that Kalu Mama was friend, Kalu Mama, Kalu or what Mama, whatever his name was, he was a friend of accused number 1 and 2. You're agreeing that?
Indeed, Your Lordship, they were in contact with the accused Sameer and Kalu Mama. Sameer and Monu. The Kalu Mama was in contact with both.
So you're agreeing that he was a friend and your co-counsel agreed that recovery and sheets are not correct, right? These two facts are unrebuttable.
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Right, proceed forward.
The confessional statement made by the CDR analysis. Let me draw to your attention the CDR analysis. It only shows that there was a telephonic conversation between the accused. Nowhere it is stated as to what conversation took place between the accused. So it has only reflected the locations and the call logs that the accused Sameer, Monu, Kalu Mama had telephonic conversation. And it would be unreasonable to state that held them guilty, that they are a part of criminal conspiracy.
Just because we do not know the contents of their conversation.
Indeed, Your Lordship, there has been no
submission. What do you mean by
submission.
circumstantial evidence, counsel?
Indeed, Your Lordship, circumstantial evidences are basically the facts that have the evidences that have been based upon the facts stated as in the most problem. But I would like to tell you that there has been no submission of the recordings. There have been no strong evidences that
counsel,
have been
just for a
to
moment, if you are the prosecutor, you are prosecuting a case, presume for a moment, for every case you may not get the recordings, but there are circumstances to prove. There is a recovery is made which are unrebutted. There is an admitted relationship with a admitted accused. How can you establish a case then that it is not even a fit case for issuance of summons or taking cognizance?
Indeed, Your Lordship, there has been no submission of any strong evidence in this case, and I am not only, the counsel is not only talking about the call recordings, but all the evidences that have been
right.
put
So,
forth.
we've been told time is over. Speaker, to conclude in a minute.
Your Lordship, there is lack of reasonable evidence to prove the actual involvement of the accused in the instant matter. Mere confession of guilt during the investigation of an offence does not necessarily amount to sufficient evidence. And
what did you say? Mere admission of?
Mere confession of guilt during the investigation. That means in the police custody, it does not necessarily amount to sufficient evidence. We cannot rely on the fact that during the investigation in the police custody.
Right. Let's just conclude it. Anything to rebut, team 1? Court master will just take 2-3 minutes more.
Sure, sir.
Anything to rebut? Half a minute to each party is to rebut, because we have rebutted your party. I mean, on one-on-one. So therefore, we have got a fair idea of your idea.
Indeed, yes, Your Lordship.
Yeah. So 3 rebuttals in pointers.
There is just one question to for the rebuttal round from the prosecution side. Your Lordship, the defense has not disputed over Section 201 and Section 121 of the Indian Penal Code anywhere in the written submission. This clearly means that the defense has accepted the charge under Section 201 that the accused had destroyed all the incriminating evidences, and also they agreed that they have abetted or conspired to wage a war against the government by their evil plan related to terrorist activities. So what is the take of my opponent?
This is no way of you give a rejoinder. Come on. You're not asking a question. Either you come on our seat No, this is no way of. This is not a rejoinder. Speaker, team two. See, this is not cross questioning going on. Please, I'm trying to appreciate it. Rejoinder is specific rebuttals to particular assertions which have been made in their arguments for which you never had an opportunity to answer. Simple as that. Team two. Anything, just half a minute.
Your Lordship, we have to reply to the rebuttal, right?
If need to, if you have to, you can just.
Your Lordship, we didn't get the time to rebut what he in our arguments. The Kalu Mama nowhere mentioned in the in confession or even in the charge sheet. There is nowhere mentioned that Kalu Mama accepted that he was the one who destroyed the evidence. It is the statement made by the NIA, which is not backed by any proof. That there was the evidences were destroyed in Sohail's house
See, he's
by Kalu Mama.
yeah. So we got your point, right? Anything? I think we have heard you guys at length. Probably the time we've exceeded that. So anything else which needs to be told or anything else for your satisfactions, we've got a fair idea of the case and the version from each of you. So anything else, you guys? Court buses out. Can we take 2 minutes? Just
So
to
2 minutes?
just
Yes,
2
sir.
minutes, just to close. So for us, Akash, anything to
Sir, 2 minutes?
ask or something, or we just
So I don't
Sure.
have a question. I'll
Sure, sir.
give my
Sure, sir.
comments and feedback.
yeah. So I teams now just because I have always have a session once we are on the other side. Earlier we were in a one-on-one decision. Only our job was to take the best out of you and to probably expose certain areas, certain issues which probably need to be little more synced up with your basis. Now, let me just take a minute of yours, precious time. See, as in the beginning, if you guys were saying we were trying to judge you on first the procedure. You guys are all law school students. We do not expect you to be the best on merits as of now, only for the reason that you're, of course, until unless you face a actual criminal trial or a civil trial, probably things may not be easily understandable. However, we need to be very clear. The moot court problem was very categorically drafted. It clarified that charge sheet has been filed, and it says even that we leave it over to the court for taking cognizance. So the moment we both the teams, probably in my humble submission, may have escaped that little assertion, because guys, it is very important. Once the only after the cognizance is taken, then it comes to the stage of framing of charge. Only at the stage of framing of charge it is decided which charges are to be tried. The accused, whether all accused are to be tried or not, and if whoever accused are to be tried, under what charges, and thereafter trial commences, and then it leads to prosecution evidence, statement of accused, defense evidence, and then our final conclusion. So in my opinion, would we always tell you, we never had an opportunity in our law school times to do trial moot courts. These are the best things which can be possible, because you have to explore, you have to take help from somebody, somebody experienced that what is the process, sir, ye kya hota hai, what is cognizance, kya hota hai, or and the net is so full of it, right? Just Deepak Verma and you'll get to know the complete judgment, the history, geography of cognizance, pre-cognizance, post-cognizance, inquiry, trial, all these things are very material before we proceed ahead. But nevertheless, our job was only to try and inquire whatever the best we can from you, and not to trouble you, but to just have a session on a stage that let's that something we learn from you, something you guys learn from us, right? So a commendable job for all the team members. Many congratulations for your stellar efforts. All the best from my side. Over to Akash.
Thank you, sir. I think sir has covered all the legal points. I have some of my comments. individually for you guys. So starting with TC512, speaker 1, you had a good start, but the introduction, when you lay down your introduction, it's good if you have a some kind of storyline. So where a storyline is basically in 4 lines within 30 seconds or a minute, you tell us the story of your client and how you create it. So the idea is that through the storyline you create an image in front of the judges. So in our mind there is an image created, okay, and you get points for that. So the introduction was good, but the storyline was missing. And I don't know what happened, like you were confident when you started, but when sir started asking you questions, you looked so baffled. I don't know like what happened. Like it was like you were so irritated that you're losing out your own structure which you had in mind. So that was visible from your facial expressions. I know that it actually it's not very comfortable for you to getting questions in the first 1 minute or 30 seconds. But if you are preparing for a moot and you want to excel in it, especially for the international moots, there will be people who will be asking you questions even before you start, and they'll ask you to change the structure. They'll ask you to argue the fourth issue first, and not the appellant. They'll ask the respondent to go first.
Yes.
Change the structure. Okay, but if you showcase that, oh my god, what's happening, why this guy is asking me questions, and this applies to all of you, and you were actually the best person in this room who was less baffled with this. So please try to have a poker face. A poker face is simple, that if you have a smiling face, have a smiling face throughout. If you have a serious face, but don't change your facial expression. Because I was looking at your expression when sir was asking questions, and he asked this question to TC547 speaker 1, that you picked up on our questions, and you had a very different kind of smile, that you were loving it, that sir is asking the same question to her. So don't change your face too much, because if you smile, then it means that you're demeaning the other party, and that's where the cameras needs to be on. So when you go in a courtroom, when you go for any moot court competition, both the parties have to be there. So that's why the cameras are required to be on, otherwise we don't get to see them. So that's first point. And then I think the question about the sanction part, it took a lot of time for you to actually close that question, and that actually showcased that like you guys didn't work too much. You guys didn't do the homework, the basics. He wasn't asking you questions which were very in depth, or which were very tough, very complex. He was asking you the basic questions. So he asked you a very simple question, that what's the date on which the NIA got to know about this whole happening, and the date was wrong. And then he was so kind that he was taking, so I thought that he was arguing the matter, because he was the one who knew facts better than you guys, and he was taking you throughout it. So if the judge starts doing that, it means that you haven't done your homework. So that showcase a very bad attitude on your part. And if you go to the knockout rounds, it will be a big no for you guys. So please be very good with the facts. So if you go for international moots, I don't know why you guys were referring to your memorials, and you guys were some of you were reading it. You can't do that in a moot court. If you start reading your memorials, like it's not like a huge complicated case in ICJ that you have 500 pages of research, so that you will say that, okay, judges, I want to refer to this, and you refer to that. No, it's not that, right? It's just a very short problem, which is also you have it, and you prepare only for this case. So please don't refer too much, but this is not for you, this is for everyone else. Okay, so this sanction part, just close down. Okay, don't spend too much time. If you think that you don't know, and if here's the thing, when I was in Stockholm University, this is what I learned from my coaches, that let's say sir asks you a question, what you do, you give your best answer. Sir doesn't buy it. What do you do? So what you guys are doing, you go to your second best answer, then you go to your third best answer. You keep on going for the next 15 minutes, especially for you. You spend all of your time, answering this one or two questions. So if somebody is not, satisfied with your best answer, do you think that person will be satisfied with your second best answer? Instead of that, you just accept the fact that you don't know that and move to your next point. Okay, it's more like CLAT. If you don't know a mathematical question in CLAT, you spend 30 minutes on that. Let's say even if you solve it, how much marks do you get? 1 mark. So instead of that, you go to the next question, which are easy. So don't spend too much time. And one thing, this is a very bad attitude on, you know, almost all of you, that he was asking you a question and you guys were saying that this doesn't come to within my part, so my co-counsel will be answering that. Okay, you can't do that. Okay, if he asks a question, let's say he's asking a question which comes from the second speaker part, what you need to say, you answer the question in one line and you say that this will be elaborated by my co-counsel as he'll be dealing with this in detail, but you have to answer it in one line. Then of course any judge will be saying, okay, fine. But what you guys were saying, I thought like you guys were ordering him that, you know, I will not answer this question. This is not my part. How can you ask this question? So he will be answering this question, or she will be, you know, telling you this answer. So don't do that. Just answer in one line and say that this will be elaborated by my co-counsel. This is a very polite way. Answer and get away from that. So every time think about this, that a judge will try to detract you from your own structure. So what you have to do, you have to answer, go back to your structure. You know, if you play badminton, you have to stand in the center of the court. Every time wherever the, you know, your shuttle goes, you have to come in the center. Likewise, in a moot, whatever we ask, let's say we ask a question which is not even relevant to the moot court. So what you do, you know, you get into that, you know, trap, or you come back to your structure. You have to come back to the points which you want to, you know, discuss. And I like your beginning where you said that I have 3 points to make, but you couldn't, you know, come back to those points. Apart from you, none of you said that, you know, I have these many points. And sir was saying that, you know, tell me in pointers, what are the answers? Okay. So that's something for you. And then TC547, speaker number 2, speaker 1, the locus standi, the first question itself. And then you were reading a lot. You were reading a lot from your memos. You can't do that. And you were very fast when sir stopped asking you question. And then you were into your memo. You were reading so fast that I couldn't grasp what you were trying to say. So please don't read. If you can, you know, share even 2 points which make sense to us, we'll try to make an order in your client's favor. But you don't need to be in hurry that you cover almost everything which is written in your memorial. Okay, and then yes, now, and I think whatever I have said applies to everyone. Then comes the most important part, rebuttal. What is a rebuttal? A rebuttal is more like a cobra attack. It's a one-shot thing. You don't have 2 shots. Okay, you never ask questions in rebuttal. What you do, one point which the opposite party has said wrong, or you think that case is over, which is so strong. You have a point which is so strong that you hit it like a cobra and you win it. That's what you mean by a rebuttal. That's something sir was telling you, but you were like, no, I have to ask a question. You're not asking a question, you're giving a rebuttal. A rebuttal has to be a statement, and a rebuttal is maximum 30 seconds to 1 minute. So just wrap it up. 1 point, not more than 1 point. And the answer should be, you know, a reply to that. And it shouldn't be something like, you know, it's not in the memorial, it has not been argued. That doesn't make any sense. And all of you, I don't know, especially like the last speaker, like you look so confused with your, you know, your body language, that every time sir was asking questions, your answer were fine, but you look so confused that you were, you know, guessing it. So your body language actually, you know, plays an important role. So please try to, you know, look more confident, because it's you who has, you know, worked so long for this particular moot court competition, not us. So just be confident with that. Thank you so much. And this is just for your next rounds and your future competitions.
Thank you, Akash. Very fair suggestions. The teams do make a note of it. And all the best. All the very best. And we are sure you'll do amazing job the next.
Much obliged, your lordship.
Pleasure, Lordship.
All the best wishes.
All the best.
Thank you so much,
Pleasure being on the bench with you.
The teams
Thank you,
can
sir.
log out
Me
now.
too.
Okay.
It was really pleasure. sir.
The teams can log out now. Yes. So, sir, you have listened to both the teams. Now you can discuss with each other, like to how to mark them, and you can send your signed mark sheets over the mail
Certainly.
from which you receive the links.
I'll just discuss with. We have 2 minutes. We can talk to each other. No.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like
Yeah.
you can take 5-10 minutes
Right,
to talk to each other, and then
See, our job was very simple. When I was a law school, there was only one Surana trial advocacy moot court.
Yeah.
But the system in college was that, it was such, I'm from RGU anyway. So the system was such that, I could never get that trial. And I always wanted to go on that line, but any which ways. So I only quiz them on these points because if you're going on conviction, seeking a conviction, the moot court problem is very clear. The charge sheet is submitted at the stage of cognizance. And, I just wanted them, and you were very right. I, in fact, wanted to point out the speaker won. ऐसा लग रहा था वो बुक उठा के at our time we used to be grilled out, and as you rightly pointed out, I was being judged by Rishabh sir, if you know Rishabh Sancheti ji.
Yeah.
So he said, and it's exactly the same thing happened. He said, no, you argue from the other side. Knowing his tarika, I knew that यार कुछ ना कुछ ऐसे करेंगे. We were prepared for both sides. So I could recollect my times यार ये कितना जरूरी है. In fact, you very rightly pointed out to all. मैं थोड़ा सा यार अपने उस observation में ना मैं थोड़ा सा वो subtle रह जाता हूँ कि उनको grilling ही इतनी हो जाती है कि मैंने कहा यार चलो subtle रहे उसके लिए.
No, but it's actually good practice for them.
See, we did not had an opportunity to even go into the case laws because probably both parties did not knew that what stage we are arguing.
Yeah.
And that was a problem in both sides, neither the first side and neither second side. But I would say, what do you say? What is your comments? I think, I am not able. This time, this is the first time, and I'm saying that किसको कोई दोनों एक जैसे ही थे. हाँ, so ये था जरूर कि
सब एक ही थाली के चट्टू बट्टू हैं.
हाँ, मतलब ऐसा लगा कि हाँ यार इसको मतलब because they see when we come at this side it doesn't matter to us, but for them it's a very big, it'll be a day to अरे यार क्या हुआ ये हुआ वो, अभी हमको भी गालियाँ पड़ रही होंगी judges को, and of course they will be taking some lessons with them, but I think comparatively I do not know. See, speaker one was started, of course you said very fine, he was fine to start with, but as you said, I really forgot. मैंने कहा यार ये तो he started showing his reactions कि भाई मुझे क्वेश्चन पसंद नहीं आ रहा है आगे चल. And you very rightly pointed out. So I think it'll be maybe a mark or two difference from the teams, for both teams, from my side.
So which team do you think made the cut? Like what marks do you think is the average which we are putting, and then which team gets a bit
Akash,
more marks?
As I told you, very difficult this is happening. I mean, if